Welcoming back to the show, Laura Loomer. Laura, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm good. You're looking no worse for the wear after being banned by Twitter. We've got to talk about this rampant censorship that's going on.
Yeah, it's pretty out of control, and it's really concerning just given the fact that we are now, what, 3 days out from Election Day, or 3, 4 days out from Election Day. And, you know, these midterm elections are going to have serious implications for the future of our country. And I'm not the only conservative who's been silenced and shut down on social media this week simply for being a conservative. There are several candidates who are running for office who have been shut down. A guy by the name of Peter Boykin, who said that he has also been shut down on Facebook for 30 days, and he's running for office.
Wow.
A lot of conservative content creators have been given either 12-hour suspensions, 6-day suspensions, or just been banned completely. And just yesterday, Twitter deleted 10,000 accounts that were telling people to not vote for Democrats.
Wow.
And this made the news. It was on NBC News. And you know what's really bad? When even the Democrats, the Democrat media, the liberal lying fake media is reporting on the fact that you are basically trying to influence the election. And then on top of that, right, Twitter got in a lot of trouble yesterday, too, because they allowed for the hashtag #KillAllJews to trend on Twitter. And so, you know, it just goes back to what I was telling you previously, that Twitter is, not only are they biased against conservatives, but they're anti-Jewish. And, you know, it kind of explains a lot how they decided to suspend me, a conservative Jewish investigative journalist who exposes Democrats a week before midterm election. But Louis Farrakhan is still up and running on Twitter. And the liberal lying media is reporting on the fact that you are basically
Where's that coming from?
The election.
So sorry, Laura. Is that me? Give me just 1 second.
Twitter got in a lot of trouble yesterday, too, because they allowed for the hashtag #KillAllJews to trend on Twitter. And so, you know, it just goes back to what I was telling you previously.
Sorry, that was coming from here. I apologize, Laura. Yeah, it's outrageous with Farrakhan.
Yeah, it's really out of control and pretty outrageous what they're allowing to have happen here. And there's no denying the fact that there is bias against conservatives. And I saw a news story yesterday as well on Big League Politics that, you know, a political organization has now filed an FEC complaint against Twitter for election meddling, and Facebook as well, because Facebook, they're doing really egregious things as well, shutting down conservatives. There was a veteran who is a triple amputee. I mean, this guy lost limbs fighting for our country, fighting for our freedoms, so we have a First Amendment right. And they shut his Facebook page down because he was operating a conservative news site on his page. And so he was also talking about how he's invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into advertising on his page as well. But Facebook just took it away, and they won't give it back to him. So, you know, they're targeting conservatives. They're targeting people who, you know, fought and served for our country. But meanwhile, if you're a liberal and you want to go on Facebook and Twitter and call for the assassination of the president, you're more than welcome to do that, right? It's just conservatives who get shut down. If you want to say kill all white people, you're allowed to do that. If you're Kathy Griffin and you want to sell ornaments that say fuck President Trump, you're allowed to do that. But God forbid you're a conservative and you say something like Linda Sarsour is vile, or, you know, don't vote for Democrats, vote Republican, you'll be shut down on Twitter.
It's amazing how brazen they've gotten about it. I mean, you know, Farrakhan is on there making speeches calling Jews termites and all this kind of stuff. And, I mean, did I see something from President Trump, a new executive order about election meddling? And isn't it something that they're going to potentially hold Jack Dorsey accountable for? Do we know anything about that?
I haven't seen it. I hope. I mean, I hope that there's something that President Trump will be doing, because here we are several days out, and it really sucks because I'm releasing amazing footage. I mean, I hate to toot my own horn, but like the footage that I have on some of these candidates and the video exposés that I've done in the past week that I've been producing and paying people to produce for me, like my video editor, Sean, who has been shut down by Twitter as well in the past multiple times for no reason, censored on social media. I mean, he's a video editor. He edits conservative content, and they are shutting him down simply because he edits content. He doesn't even post anything crazy. And,
wow.
And crazy because my videos usually get hundreds of thousands of views on social media, and now they're barely getting any views because I have to post them on YouTube. I have to post them on Facebook instead of Twitter. And, you know, Facebook suppresses me. They mark my stuff as fake news. YouTube suppresses my account. I mean, the Maxine Waters video, for example, had millions and millions of views all around the world because people like Rush Limbaugh, Fox News, and whatnot reported on this video, and it went viral. And on YouTube, it says the video only has 50,000 views. So it's obviously suppressing viewer count and not really telling the truth. It's manipulating the truth, trying to show that these videos aren't as popular as they actually are. Twitter is, not only are they biased against conservatives, but
where is this coming from? Hang on a second, Laura. I don't know what's going on here today. I've got the sound turned off on all these.
Journalist who exposes Democrats a week before midterm election, but Louis Farrakhan is still up and running on Twitter.
I really apologize, Laura. I've got everything muted here on my end. I have no idea where that's coming from. Give me just 1 second.
Twitter got in a lot of trouble yesterday, too, because they allowed for the hashtag Kill All Jews to trend on Twitter. And so
I don't know what's going on. Everything is muted here.
From here. I apologize, Laura.
Wow.
Yeah, it's outrageous with Farrakhan.
Yeah, it's really out of control and pretty outrageous what they're allowing to have happen here. And there's no denying the fact that there is bias against.
Is that coming from me or from you?
Yesterday as well on Big League Politics that you know, a political organization is.
Okay, it stopped. Very good. So yeah, I'm obviously not.
I don't have any links open, so
yeah.
That's strange.
I don't know what happened there. I'm not in my usual studio, so we're doing things a little bit slightly improv. This is an outrageous situation, Laura. You are doing amazing reporting. You're revealing Keith Ellison is beating up women. You're confronting him. None of the mainstream news is doing that. As you pointed out, on YouTube, you don't have nearly the following. I think people who are watching Crowdsource the Truth right now should definitely go search for Laura on YouTube. Her channel is just called Laura Loomer, and we've got to get her subscribership on YouTube up. She's at about 17,000 subscribers right now, and hopefully people can go there and help her build her following. You can also go to Laura's webpage, which is just lauraloomer.us, and you can follow all of her amazing investigative journalism there and watch people get loomered. Where?
I'm on Facebook as well. My official page is called Laura Loomer Official, and I've been trying to post content there. But really, I need people to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I need people to go on my page and share the links, because that's probably the most effective way at the moment. And, you know, that it's crazy to think I only have about 17,000 subscribers, because my videos go viral every week essentially, and it seems like Twitter is intentionally trying to suppress my account from growing. And
yeah, YouTube as well.
My videos aren't monetized, and it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how I'm essentially not able to share my content, and the numbers are totally being distorted. I mean, if you go on my channel, if I were to go right now and show you some of these videos, some of my videos only have 2,000 views, and I have no idea how that's even the case, that these videos that received 500,000 views on Twitter alone have 2,000 views on YouTube. When I post the YouTube link underneath all of my videos on Twitter, it doesn't make any sense.
I agree with you. I'm looking at the page right now. We're showing it to everybody. We've got this Michael Avenatti video, only 2,642. I mean, you're certainly a major social media influencer, and I agree, it's quite odd that these videos have such low viewership. I've certainly experienced some manipulation on YouTube, and this is an important factor. I want people to know, everyone feels like YouTube is free, but it's not free. Because what they've done is they've created this incredibly powerful billion-dollar platform that they're giving to people without charge. But what we're giving up in exchange is Google has total control over what people can see. So we're really looking for alternate platforms. I've been doing a lot of stuff on patreon.com, and people can go there for as little as $1 a month. You eliminate the control that Google has, that YouTube has, the trolling that goes on. So I think it's time for us to start re-evaluating how we utilize social media. It's obviously very powerful. And the thing that I've spoken about quite often, Laura, you know, if you think back to 2008, Twitter wasn't really a factor. Most people were not on YouTube or Facebook. It played no role whatsoever in Barack Obama's first election. And then when he was the incumbent, I think it also was not very influential. But I think most people would agree that without social media, Donald Trump would not have won the election. So from 2016 to today, there has been an incredibly strong push to control the message in social media. And it's just way out of hand.
Yeah, because honestly, I never really used to use Twitter a lot, and given that I worked for Project Veritas, I couldn't really express my own personal identity anyway because I was undercover, you know, as a liberal in the Hillary Clinton campaign for several years. And so I didn't really use Twitter, right? And I only started using it when I left Veritas and went independent, because then I could actually, you know, be myself publicly.
Right.
And instead of being an undercover journalist. And so now, you know, sometimes I go back and I look at tweets and things that people used to post when Obama was president. People used to post the same amount of things that they're saying now about the Democrats. People have said worse things about Obama, but Twitter never cracked down on the speech and the political commentary on the political discussion like they are doing now, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how it's changed, because there are old tweets that are way more egregious than things that certain people are posting now. And it was totally allowed for, and, you know, given a pass during the Obama administration because the Democrats were in control. But now that Trump is president, they just want to silence everybody. And same with Facebook. I used to use Facebook a lot when I was in college to get my message out. And I used to get hundreds, sometimes thousands of likes and interactions on my Facebook posts when I was in college, because I would post a lot of my political commentary there, and that's really how I got started. Right? Is I put my political opinions and broadcasted my issues with my university on my Facebook, and those posts ended up going viral.
Right.
And that's how my career began. But now I barely get any likes, any interaction on my Facebook. I can post a post and get like 5 likes. Meanwhile, I have almost 50,000 followers on my Facebook page. And even on my personal page, I've almost exceeded the limit of people who can follow my page. And I have a lot of political supporters on my personal Facebook, and none of my posts get any interaction anymore. They've completely silenced us. And so it should concern everybody, and there needs to be another platform, because after the election, right, after Tuesday, when we wake up on Wednesday morning and we see either the Democrats are in control or the Republicans are still in control, hell is going to break loose. Half the country is going to be furious, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. And it's only going to further, you know, flame and fuel the tensions that we're experiencing. And we need to start gearing up for 2020, because Democrats are already trying to float their claims of running for president against Donald Trump in 2020. We're seeing it. And as soon as Wednesday hits, campaigning for 2020 begins. All right,
Absolutely.
2020 is going to go, and it's, you can believe that if the Democrats lose, and if we have a massive red wave on Wednesday morning, that the Democrats are going to go full-blown crazy in their attempt to campaign for 2020, and we're going to see supernova censorship on Twitter and Facebook more so than we already have seen. So it's crucial. It is so crucial. And if the Democrats do gain control on Wednesday, we're still going to see censorship, because the Democrats will be in control, and no one's going to be holding them accountable in Congress if they shut us down. So prepare for more censorship. Start reaching out to people. If you know any very wealthy individuals who have the means to invest in these alternative platforms, tell them to do so, because we're going to be silenced. We're going to be totally shut down, and that's not an exaggeration any bit whatsoever. I mean, the Democrats have already said that depending on what happens, they're out to get blood. They want, quote unquote, collateral damage, as Nancy Pelosi said. So,
wow.
No matter what the results are on Wednesday morning, you can experience increased social media censorship because it's not over. People think, oh, the midterms are over and that's it, and then we're okay for 2 years. No, campaigning will begin immediately on Wednesday morning. You will see people start announcing their runs for president, their candidates.
Speaking of alternative platforms, Laura, I just don't think it's a coincidence that Gab.ai remains down. Now, Gab.ai has nowhere near the amount of reach that Twitter or any of these other social media platforms have, but it's been attacked at a time where it could in fact be a useful alternative. So I'm showing the Gab page right now, and they're saying that they've spent the past 48 hours working with the DOJ and FBI to bring justice to an alleged terrorist. So, I mean, you know, they've got information from this synagogue shooter's Gab account.
But look, I mean, obviously this is just another attempt to silence and target conservatives because Gab was created as a conservative alternative to Facebook and Twitter. And Gab isn't responsible for this Nazi who decided to kill 11 Jews. I mean, I'm a Jew, and I don't think Andrew Torba is responsible. Do a lot of Nazis and people who have anti-Semitic views use Gab? Yeah, but there are Nazis and people of different breeds of anti-Semites, especially Muslims, who are on Twitter. There are people who
YouTube and Facebook.
There are terrorists and mass killers and rapists and criminals of all sorts that have social media accounts on Facebook and Twitter, and they have never been shut down as an entire platform. I mean, there are murders that have been broadcasted. There are sexual assaults that have been broadcasted on Facebook Live, and Facebook has never been shut down. All right? So I think it's a total assault on free speech and conservatives for Gab to lose everything. And not only that, but be banned from PayPal. I mean, what is President Trump going to do about the fact that his supporters and conservatives are being essentially banned from having a financial apparatus to their businesses online, right? Online payments for services or monetization if you're a conservative content creator simply because you're a Trump supporter or a conservative or you think the wrong way, according to liberals. Yeah. We can't have that. And a lot of banking is now tied in with PayPal. And I think it's only going to get worse. I mean, what happens if liberals start finding out that you use MasterCard or you use whatever? Are they going to petition these companies to the point where people shut down your bank account or your credit card, or people refuse to give you loans? You can't get into college. You can't get student loans anymore. They're attacking us on a financial and economic level as well, too, which is probably one of the most disturbing things, if not even more disturbing than the free speech matter. It's the fact that they're shutting our financial mechanisms for operating and actually like having careers as conservative content creators down. Because if you're a journalist in this day and age, especially independent, you can't even get a job at a local newspaper or local publication if you don't have access to social media. Well, and then forget about it if you want to have your own site or your own blog or your own system, even Patreon. Like, you're talking about using Patreon. Well, Patreon has shut down conservatives. Patreon, the payments method is tied into PayPal.
Exactly.
So if you get banned from PayPal and you're a conservative, you can't even use Patreon. So
correct.
Right now, you have a suicidal platform as well, or a suicidal method for keeping your business operating, just like every other conservative content creator, because that's how you make your revenue. That's how pretty much all these people make their revenue. They are being shut down for absolutely no reason. But meanwhile, CARE, which is a designated terrorist organization, has a PayPal account, and they're able to operate freely.
Wow.
And Antifa has a PayPal account as well,
wow.
And they've been designated as a domestic terrorist organization. So I get very flustered when I talk about this, and it actually physically raises my blood pressure because it pisses me off so much and makes me so angry to know that these organizations are just shutting conservatives down because liberals call up and they make a few phone calls and they mass target and mass harass and report conservatives online. And then these companies they just look the other way when it comes to Democrats and jihadi organizations.
You're absolutely right, Laura. I mean, this financial attack is essentially attempted murder in slow motion, because if they cut off your finances, you're going to become homeless. You're not going to be able to buy food. This is not a joke. CARE right now is actively involved in a donation campaign. They've raised $375,000, and you're right, they're operating totally unfettered. Let me take you back to the Gab thing for a moment, because this is particularly egregious. There is something in the Digital Millennium Copyright Act called the Communications Decency Act. And this is basically what all of these social media platforms hide behind. When trolls come to my apartment building on a live stream and show my address and tell people to attack Jason Goodman, and the comments say, dox this Jew, attack this Jew, and they publish my mother's phone number on Twitter and things like that and tell people to call her up and harass her, Twitter says, oh no, we're just a network. We're protected by this Communications Decency Act. Now, this was created in 1996, and it's essentially designed to absolve a company like Verizon or AT&T. If someone calls you up with a death threat, AT&T says, we have nothing to do with that. We're just providing the phone line. Go take legal action against that person.
But they're also taking advantage of the system.
Absolutely.
Because they're not held liable, right? So this is another clear-cut example of bias. So
yes.
Twitter says, oh, well, we have the Communication Decency Act, so we're not responsible if people use our platform to go harass people. But then they are shutting Alex Jones down because he was on Periscope, and people said that Twitter was responsible for him harassing CNN journalists when he was simply just talking to them and calling them out for their lies. And they're just, absolute fake
Well, that's
news.
exactly what I'm trying to point out, is that they choose to employ this when it's convenient for them. Gab was held responsible for user content, but Twitter and Facebook seem to not be. And the key issue here, Laura, is Verizon's not listening to your phone calls and stopping them from going through and allowing somebody else's to. These companies, these social media companies, are actually not merely the network. They are editors of the content because they choose what can go and what cannot, and they mediate these disagreements in a way. You've never received a communication from AT&T saying, hey, we didn't like your last phone call.
No, but that's where we're headed right now. So think about it. How crazy. You're laughing right now. Just think about it. You're laughing because you're saying, have you ever received a communication from AT&T saying, we didn't like your last phone call, we're going to shut you down? Well,
could be next.
That's exactly what we're dealing with right now with these social media networks, is they're saying, hey, we didn't like what you said about Muslims, or hey, we didn't like what you said about President Trump and telling people to vote for Republicans. We didn't like what you said about Hillary Clinton. So we're going to shut you down, and we're also going to contact the bank so that you can't make money and you go homeless, and you just have to deal with it and have no way to, fight back about it. So that you're laughing, but that's what we're dealing with.
I mean, just out of the irony of it, there's nothing I can do but laugh.
Before AT&T probably does say, hey, we got a vibe that you're preaching hate speech over your telephone, and you're not allowed to talk about Sharia law on the phone. So we're going to cut your phone service, and you can no longer communicate with anybody. I mean, it's only a matter of time. It sounds
People
crazy.
really need to let this sink in, Laura, because we are absolutely in a post-constitutional America. We have no freedom of speech. We have no one stopping these gigantic multi-billion-dollar companies from colluding to shut down Alex Jones, to shut down people like you. Now, of course, you and Larry Klayman are involved in a lawsuit against these social media companies, and you're going to be getting more involved with that. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, so I'm going to be working with Larry Klayman, and there's going to be a lawsuit. I'm going to, be participating in this lawsuit with several other individuals, conservatives, who have been silenced by big tech. And so we need to start suing them. People need to start suing these companies, and there needs to be massive class action lawsuits against companies like Twitter and Facebook for this egregious censorship, because it's also an issue of public accommodation. I mean, we are now in a digital world where fair access and equal opportunity means having equal access to the internet. And liberals love using this point of discussion and this topic when they were talking about, regulating the internet companies and making sure that poor people had access to internet service, and, making sure that that phone lines and internet lines were set up in the developing world so that poor people in third world countries had access to the internet, because they even themselves have argued that it's a form of it's a major socioeconomic difference and impairment when you're not able to have access to the internet. We know this.
Right.
And so if that's the case, why is it now that they're trying to shut conservatives down when they know that if you're a journalist and you can't use social media, you cannot be a journalist. You cannot operate as a journalist in this day and age. And they're trying to trace your VPN. They're trying to make it so that if you use the same phone number, if you're banned from Twitter, people say, well, just create a new account. No, they shut you down.
Yeah.
Right? Shut my video editor down like 5 times already. And he doesn't do anything. He doesn't post anything crazy. He just posts videos and makes content for conservatives, right? So it's really unfair what they're doing, and they're preventing conservatives from even participating in the world of journalism. And that's a civil rights violation in my view. And
it's totally,
that is how lawyers need to be arguing this, right? Because it's not even just an issue of bias. It's honestly a civil rights violation and an issue of public accommodation. And these companies need to start to be treated like utilities. You know, they need to be treated like utilities. And it's so funny because a year ago, almost coming up on the anniversary, I actually asked Sebastian Gorka this at a conference in Florida. And I said, you know, you're working with the president. What are you guys going to do to maybe make it so that, you know, social media are utilities, and that way they can stop censoring conservatives? This was a year ago. And he kind of laughed it off and made it sound like my point wasn't that important. And the video is still up on social media. You could find it, I'm sure. But he kind of laughed me off and made it sound like my concern wasn't valid. And here we are now today, and look at all these people who are being shut down. And no one's going to care until it happens to them, right? So all these Fox News personalities who think, oh, well, it's Laura Loomer, I don't care about her. Like, oh, it's Alex Jones, I don't care about him. He's crazy. Oh, it's Gavin McInnes or Milo, I don't care. They're just like provocateurs, right? Well, it's going to happen to you too. And people only seem to care when it happens to them. So you've been warned, and it's only going to get worse. And a lot of candidates now are starting to experience it. I mean, Twitter deleted Donald Trump's account for 11 minutes. People like to conveniently forget that. But what is going to stop Twitter from deleting the president's Twitter account entirely if the Democrats gain control? Right? There are already Democrats talking about this movement to ban the president from Twitter. It sounds so stupid.
It is stupid.
But I swear, and Twitter actually did release a statement a while back that said that they would ban the president if he violated their terms of service.
That's crazy. But the problem is they don't really ever tell you what those terms of service are. They can change them on the fly. And, you know, you're absolutely right that, you know, Patreon is an alternative, but it does come back to PayPal. And if they shut you out of PayPal, then you're shut down. Even people who want to go to freedomwatchusa.org and contribute to the work that Larry is doing there to help your case, Larry is relying on PayPal as well. So it's a really insidious problem.
A lot of people can't have credit cards. A lot of people don't want to have credit cards either, so they use PayPal. So how are you supposed to operate, especially if you can't get a credit card? Maybe you have bad credit or something and you can't get a credit or debit card. What happens then? What happens then? What happens if people don't want to use credit cards and they want to be completely dependent on cash and they're banned from PayPal? How are you supposed to be able to get around in society, or when you're at the airport and you have to pay for a bag at the airport? They don't accept cash. They only accept cards now. I mean, it's honestly insane. Yeah, you can't pay for your baggage at the airport with cash. You have to pay with a credit card.
Wow.
Which kind of is really weird to me, because you're essentially forcing people then to use credit cards. And I know people who don't want to have credit cards. There are people
and they won't let you take a bag on the plane without it.
Yeah. So that's my point. And it's really concerning in all aspects of society. All these rideshare apps, Uber and Lyft, are hooked up to credit cards and PayPal if you want. I'm banned from both, so I can't really use Uber or Lyft, really. But the 1-year anniversary of that just came up 2 days ago. Remember, I was with you.
Yeah. So what's happening with that? When are they lifting this ban? Ever?
No, they'll probably never lift it. I mean, the CEO of Uber's a Muslim, so he's never going to lift my ban.
Wow. That's amazing. You know, Laura, the last time you were on the show, you were talking about this explanatory memorandum from the Muslim Brotherhood. This was absolutely shocking to me. Now, many people compared this to the protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is a very popular trope on the internet for people to people who basically hate Jewish people point to that document.
Right.
I've never heard of that document before. People on the internet spoke about it. And that, what do you know about that, Elders or the Protocols of Zion or whatever?
Well, it's used a lot by people who hate Jewish people, like you're talking about. But I don't know if there's really a comparison of this. This is simply just the explanatory memorandum.
It was written in 1991. The other thing is some purportedly ancient document, isn't it? It's probably. This is evidence found by the FBI. The other thing is sort of made up.
Found by the FBI, and a lot of people like to. I've heard a lot of you know, anti-Jewish conspiracies that tie in this whole Elder of Zion concept, but I really don't know too much to really have a very you know, deep conversation about it. I don't want to pretend like I know a ton about the document, but what I do know a lot about is the explanatory memorandum, and that's evidence that was collected by the FBI in a raid in Virginia. So,
and they're carrying out the plan, right?
Yeah, they're already carrying it out. They're already in stage 4. So if you look at the document, let me pull it up on my end too. There's 5 stages. Hold on.
Yeah.
You can pull it up.
I've got it here. Unfortunately, the setup I have today doesn't offer screen sharing, so I'm afraid you can't see that. But, I mean, you can get it as a paperback book. You can download a PDF of it.
It's free online. And okay, it's a government exhibit, and it was stamped by the FBI. And it's in Arabic, but it's been translated to English, of course. Or actually, this was in English, but the beginning is Arabic. So it's on the general strategic goal for the group in North America. And the group in North America that they're talking about is, of course, the Muslim Brotherhood, which is CARE, which is pretty much any Muslim organization in the United States is Muslim Brotherhood affiliated at this point in time. The Muslim Students Association, that's a Muslim Brotherhood organization. So you'll see that this is dated May 22nd, 1991. And it's broken down into different sections. You have the explanation, the concept of settlement, and settlement is how the Muslims will infiltrate our country, right? Through the process of progressive revelation is how they plan on spreading Islam and implementing a full-blown Islamic caliphate, Sharia. The process of settlement, and then the comprehensive settlement organizations. And you need to really read this document if you haven't already. It's about 32 pages long. It's an easy read, and it talks a lot about. I'll just read you one section. Here's one part. It's absorbing Muslims and winning them with all their factions and colors in America and Canada for the settlement project and making it their cause, future, and the basis of their Islamic life is in this part of the world. So it talks about how you need to win over the Muslims and basically, you know, place them in all major aspects of society so that Islamic life becomes a part of the world and, you know, the dominant part of this country. I'm trying to find the most...
Settlement, establishment, stability, enablement, rooting.
Find the parts.
The 4,
right.
Yeah.
Utilizing the scientific method in planning, thinking, and preparation studies needed for the process of settlement. Settlement, you know, the implementation of Sharia. Yes, we need this method, and we need many studies which aid in the civilization jihad operation. Those are their words. Civilization jihad operation, the implementation of Sharia, a full-blown Muslim takeover of the United States of America. We will mention some of them briefly. This is the word, this is a document, this is evidence found by the FBI, the word of the Muslim Brotherhood. This is one of their top officials that was found in a raid in Annandale, Virginia. The history of the Islamic presence in America, the history of the Islamic Ikhwani presence in America, and the Ikhwan, for those who don't know what Ikhwan is, it's Muslim Brotherhood. And their account, believe it or not, is verified on Twitter.
Yeah.
that has a verified Twitter account, but then meanwhile I get my verification taken away for saying mean things about Muslims, right? Okay, they're a terrorist organization. Islamic movements, organizations, analysis and criticism, the phenomenon of Islamic centers in schools, challenges, needs, and statistics, Muslim Arab communities, the United States society, the makeup and politics, right? So go back. They're trying to study the U.S. society, makeup, and politics, and this is for civilization jihad, which aids in this civilization jihad operation. So those are not my words. I'm not some like kooky conspiracy theorist telling you that the Muslims have a plan to take over America, right? Those are their words. They say these are the things needed in order to aid in this, quote, civilization jihad operation. Jihad, for those who don't know what jihad is, it's warfare against non-Muslims. So civilization warfare against non-Muslims. What is civilization? Well, you know, all the
everybody, yeah,
everything makes up what we are as a country. The U.S. society's view of Islam and Muslims, and many other studies which can direct our brothers and allies to prepare either through their academic studies or through their educational centers or organizational tasking. Agreeing on a flexible and balanced mechanism to implement the process of settlement, which civilization jihad, going back to that. So, you know, they're talking about all of this, understanding the role and the nature of the work of the Islamic Center in every city with what it achieves and the goal and the process of settlement. So they're admitting that their Islamic centers are not religious centers. They're not religious centers where you can go and just learn about Islam. They're political centers with and political institutions. It's a political building. It's a political structure, right, with an organizational body and a plan in order to talk about the process of settlements and implementation of civilization jihad. So when you see these Islamic centers and they say, oh, like Islam's the religion of peace, all are welcome. Let's talk about Islam. Well, read this document and you'll see that they're Islamic centers, right? That is just a way to try to, you know, convince the American people and non-Muslims in North America that Islam is open and receptive to, you know, having a dialogue, and that they're open to interfaith discussion with other people. But their main goal, of course, is to dupe and fool non-Muslims and members of Western civilization so that they can achieve this, quote, achieve the goal of the process of the settlement, civilization jihad. You need to read this document if you haven't.
Yeah.
I don't know what some of the comments are, if people are commenting on this, but let's go through another part of this. Understanding the importance of the organizational shift in our movement work and doing jihad. Okay, like they're literally talking about committing jihad in this document.
Yeah.
And most people have no idea what this is. In order to achieve it in the real world with what serves the process of the settlement, and God Almighty's willing, all is willing. So they're word for word talking about how they need to establish an organizational method in order to implement civilization jihad in America. And they use the word jihad, which is, of course, Islamic terrorism. And for those of you who want to, you know, attack me and say that jihad isn't Islamic terrorism, well, I'll have you know that when I was reporting on the Orlando ISIS terrorist attack in which Omar Mateen killed 49 people, jihad, the term jihad, was used by both the defense and the prosecution to refer to an act of Islamic terrorism. So it's not
pretty
a struggle.
clear.
It's not a struggle. It's not like an internal battle like Linda Sarsour and the terrorists over at Terror want you to think. No, it is an act of Islamic terror. And it's very concerning to me that people, you know, are being duped and misled.
Well, and of course, when you covered that trial, Laura, you were basically run out of there, and they...
I was arrested, essentially. Like, paper arrested. They didn't cuff me, but I had to call Larry Klayman. And I'm still dealing with that case, you know, because they're trying to jerk me around. And the Obama judge stripped me of my credentials and basically confiscated my cell phone unconstitutionally, and I wasn't even disrupting anything. The trial wasn't even ongoing at the time. I was waiting in the press room, and I had when I asked my questions of the family, it was outside of the courthouse at the press conference. And all these liberals spread lies about me and said that I disrupted the trial. I didn't disrupt the trial. I didn't disrupt it.
You were in the parking lot.
I was in the parking lot. And I asked the family a question. I said, are you going to admit that jihad is Islamic terrorism? Because CARE was there providing legal representation to Noor Solomon, and CARE has led this entire campaign that says that, you know, jihad isn't terrorism, along with Linda Sarsour, who they defend. They lie to the American people and say that jihad isn't terrorism, that it's simply a struggle. And so I was very interested in with the family. I said, well, the defense and the prosecution are using the word jihad. You know, the people defending your niece or your daughter are saying that jihad is terrorism. So do you admit this? Because I find it interesting how your legal representation, when they're not in the courtroom, are lying to Americans and trying to tell them that jihad isn't terrorism. You know?
We're living in bizarro world right now, Laura. So I'm here on lauraloomer.us, your official website, and this is from August, but you were presenting the 911 recorded calls and documents of a woman's claim against Keith Ellison for domestic assault. How is Keith Ellison doing in this Minneapolis race for Attorney General, and how do they allow this to go uninvestigated?
Yeah, so of course Keith Ellison is running to be Attorney General in Minnesota, and he's also the Deputy Chair of the DNC, which means he's the second most powerful person at the moment in the Democrat Party.
Whoa.
And Keith Ellison has been accused by multiple women of domestic violence, and we're not talking about like these fake Kavanaugh accusations that were proven to be fake yesterday when the woman admitted that she lied, that she made up the accusations and Kavanaugh never raped her. She said she never even met Kavanaugh. Wow. So if you haven't seen that story, you can go look that up too, because she admitted that she made the story up because she was mad at Republicans.
Was that Julie Swetnick? Who was it that did that?
No, it was one of the other women. There were multiple women that were working with Michael Avenatti and whatnot, but they're all liars. All of them lied. I mean, come on. We know that Brett Kavanaugh did not rape anybody. He doesn't even know these women. But Keith Ellison, there's actually police reports and medical reports and therapist notes and different forms of documentation in the form of text messages as well that show that he did abuse women. All right, so Keith Ellison is a domestic abuser, and it's documented by the police, who had to respond to the home of one of his former girlfriends for a domestic violence call. And then he fled the scene, of course. And why would you flee the scene if the police are on their way, unless you're guilty, right? Why would you flee the scene if a woman is calling the police on you for domestic violence?
It's crazy. And this guy wants to be the Attorney General. That's the type of thing that enables rampant corruption, when somebody like this is the guy in charge of prosecuting.
Exactly. And the Minnesota media is so desperate to convince people that people like Keith Ellison, right? And the only reason why he would have any chance of winning whatsoever is because the Democrats in Minnesota have imported so many Muslims and Somalis, and there's so much voter fraud in Minnesota. And Keith Ellison is a Muslim, and he even admitted in 2007, when he was first accused of domestic violence, and this was an issue in his 2007 campaign by Amy Alexander, that the only reason he won was because of the Somali community. He's on video admitting this. Those are his words, not mine.
Wow.
So I think that they're lying about the polls, because how is it that Doug Wardlow has all of these, they're undecided voters, and then Doug Wardlow gains, you know, a massive lead over Ellison, and then now they're trying to say a week out that Keith Ellison is leading. They did this poll, which wasn't even representative of the entire state of Minnesota. It was like 600 or 1,000 people they spoke to, and they all lived in Minneapolis, which is very liberal. I mean, you can't just only survey one portion of the state and then call that a valid poll, you know?
Now, Laura, Keith Ellison, of course, was the first Islamic congressional representative and the first person in U.S. history to be sworn in on a Koran. Now, there have been Jewish congressional representatives, of course, and some of them are terrible, including Debbie Wasserman Schultz, but are Jewish representatives being sworn in on the Torah, or are they?
They're not. Right. They're not sworn in. And so,
well, they're sworn in, but they use the Constitution, right? If they don't want to use the Bible.
Or they use the Bible. No, I think that even Jewish candidates are using the Bible.
Right.
It's only the Muslims who show this fierce opposition to taking their oath on the Bible. I mean, as far as I know, Jewish representatives and Christian representatives have no issue taking their oath on the Bible or the United States Constitution, which is how it's supposed to be done. I mean, I'm a Jew, right? I'm not religious, but I wouldn't have any opposition to being sworn in on the Bible if that's what our country does. That's the normal practice. That's what you do if you want to be an American, right? You take your oath on the Bible or the Constitution.
Or certainly the Constitution, yeah.
At least the Constitution. I mean, I'm not a very religious person, and so those things doesn't bother me. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's always these Muslim candidates who want to take their oath on the Quran, which is especially troubling because it's not a matter of religious liberty and religious freedom. By taking your oath on the Quran, you're essentially saying, I am not going to uphold the United States Constitution, because the Quran is governed by Sharia law, and Muslims believe in Sharia law. And Sharia law views itself as being, and states that it is supreme law. So how are you going to take your oath on a Quran which states that the Islamic law is supreme law when the Constitution is supposed to be supreme law, and as a representative elected in this country, you're supposed to uphold United States law, not Islamic law.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue. There's a lot of low IQ people and very uninformed, uneducated people who have never even picked up a Quran and read it themselves to see the horror that's inside of it. But they should, and they should really study Islam, and they should study how it views itself as a political ideology and way of life and not even a religion. And so by allowing Muslim candidates to get elected and then also take their oath on the Quran, you're allowing them to
subvert the Constitution.
Our Constitution, and people don't get that. I don't know why it's such a hard concept, but even in Muslim countries, they don't view Islam as a religion. They view it as a total way of life, a legal structure, a way to lead and govern your life in a very structured, legal way. Legal, political. We're not talking about religious here. It is a political ideology. And every single mosque and Islamic center, and you can read it in the explanatory memorandum, views itself as a political body, a political structure, a political building, a place where the Islamic law, Sharia law, is implemented. So mosques and Islamic centers are not religious centers; they are political centers, and that's not my words. Go read the explanatory memorandum, right? Yeah. That's not me being hateful. That's not me being an Islamophobe, right? Those are the Muslims' words. Go read the explanatory memorandum.
Yeah, and that's why it's more important than ever that people are, we've got to diversify these channels that we're using in social media. People should definitely go to lauraloomer.us and follow Laura while she's under ban from Twitter. As Laura rightly pointed out, even though I have been trying to diversify the video platform onto patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, it is all tied to PayPal. Laura, in the interest of continuing this diversification, I've just started a Vimeo on-demand channel, and that's going to give people another option for how they can access Crowdsource the Truth videos. I haven't quite rolled it out yet, but some people had some issues with the user interface and functionality of Patreon, and you raise a very good point. They're banning conservatives, they're tied to PayPal, so we've got to be clever, and until someone like Larry Klayman and his colleagues there at freedomwatchusa.org, until we're able to get some sort of legal remedy for this, all we can do is continue to scramble and try and get the message out as best we can.
Right, yeah, and Larry Klayman's a very, very talented, well-respected lawyer, and of course, being the founder of Judicial Watch and all of his victories that he's had, especially one of the most recent victories with the Bundy trial, of course, as well, which a lot of people, they said, oh, they're never going to get off, and they're never going to have the charges dropped. Well, you can thank Larry Klayman for being a voice for reason and actually accomplishing and doing what people thought was impossible. Absolutely. And so that's why I have Larry Klayman, representing me in all things that I do, because he's a phenomenal attorney, and I think that we have a very strong case against these social media companies.
And you know, Larry has also been prosecuting an ongoing FOIA lawsuit against Robert Mueller's special counsel's office. Larry has just presented me with a trove of documents that are emails between the special counsel's office and members of the mainstream press. You know, Laura, in the first trove of documents, we saw what appear to be tremendously inappropriate communications between Peter Carr, the press liaison in the special counsel's office, and Shane Harris of the Wall Street Journal, who would appear to be molding a narrative that's trying to tie Russia collusion to Peter W. Smith, who's now dead, of course, and they're making up false accusations that directly contradict emails that Peter Smith sent to Charles Ortel. And when I called Shane Harris to question him about this, he hung up the phone on me. I don't know if people realize this, but Shane, in part, relied on a prospectus that he said...
How did Peter die?
Peter died by suicide, allegedly, asphyxiation with helium. But we've done an extensive investigation into this very strange death of Peter Smith, who is also...
Wow.
What's that? Another suicide. He's the guy responsible, Laura, for revealing Troopergate back in the 1980s. He was involved with David Brock, and he created a fund for whistleblower Arkansas State Troopers. So he's been a thorn in the Clinton side for a while.
Isn't it interesting how all these people die from suicide? Isn't it interesting? So obvious what's happening.
Well, Charles found it very unlikely that Peter would commit suicide because he had spoken to him on the phone just the day before, and he said Peter was in good spirits and excited about this effort. And they get information from this guy, Matt Tate, who's a former GCHQ British operative. Sound familiar? He also worked for Google Project Zero. So it's really important that we talk about and eliminate this crazy collusion between these companies that everyone sort of in the first, part of their lifespan, everybody loved Google. It was great. You could find stuff on the internet and watch videos for free. But we need to understand what's going on here. I think we need to get to a new era of the internet where we take back control of what we're viewing. And we also need to be careful of some scams like Steemit.com that are trying to take advantage of people in this moment. So it's a very challenging problem for us to solve.
Yeah, I agree. But I think we need to use lawfare because there's enough, enough bitching and moaning about it on social media. We got to actually do something because talking about it much longer isn't going to do anything. Right. And honestly, if our representatives aren't going to do much, and we saw the way they shut me down when I confronted Jack Dorsey in Congress myself, we got to take it into our own hands, and that's what we got to do. We have to start suing these people and actually trying to, advocate for legislative change as well. But a lot of our representatives in Congress are just useless. They're useless. They're not doing anything, and they don't care about helping us because it doesn't affect them personally. And so people will say and do things, and they'll sell you lies, and they'll make false promises. But you have to start doing things on your own. And I think that we have to start suing. Really, that's the way that we're going to settle this. Is it needs to go all the way to the Supreme Court, I fear. I think that it's going to have to be a Supreme Court decision.
I hope you're right. We can get somewhere in the justice system because, certainly using the law, if we're going to have a legitimate justice system, is the best way to do this. And it's a really vexing problem. So we're getting close to the end of our hour here, Laura. Is there any other developments you wanted to share with everybody? Any other information?
Well, I, of course, have been investigating several candidates running for office. Andrew Gillum, who's running for governor here in Florida, Stacey Abrams, who's running for governor in Georgia. Both of them are Marxist candidates. And I released some more videos on them yesterday on my YouTube channel. So please go and look at those videos. We have a video of Andrew Gillum, one of his staffers, of course, physically attacking an elderly Jewish lady at the polls in Florida, breaking her phone. And it's crazy. It's happening. He, of course, is advocating for political violence, and his supporters are listening to him. And this comes after the very explosive Project Veritas expose, which, of course, exposed Project Veritas exposed Andrew Gillum's campaign staffer, one of his top officials, admitting that Andrew Gillum is a crazy progressive and that he doesn't believe in anything he said. And then they referred to the state of Florida as a, quote, fucked up cracker state. So it's very racist what is happening as well. And then with Stacey Abrams, I confronted her at an event just days after the synagogue shooting, and I asked her to disavow Linda Sarsour, and I said, given the fact that you are campaigning with Linda Sarsour, and Linda Sarsour recently said that Jewish people should not be humanized, will you disavow Linda Sarsour, given the fact especially that 11 Jewish people were just killed at the synagogue? Are you going to disavow the Jew hatred? And she said, I ain't got time for that. Like,
wow.
Her, on the video, you can hear it. You can hear it in the video. She would not disavow Linda Sarsour. She said, we ain't going to do that today. We ain't going to do that today. And walked away. So
it's really hard to believe, Laura. I mean,
share it. Get out. Vote for Ron DeSantis, Brian Kemp. You need to support a lot of these Republican candidates who are running for office, because the Democrats are just putting very, very disgusting people up who just want to divide our country. Stacey Abrams, another video I'm releasing, she's campaigning with David Hogg. This lady wants to be governor of Georgia, and she wants to ban the AR-15. And she was campaigning with David Hogg, and they were trying to keep it a secret. And when I confronted David Hogg, I said, oh, so you're here in Georgia. What are you doing here? You live in Florida. Why aren't you campaigning in Florida? Are you campaigning with Stacey Abrams? And he got really nervous and said, oh, no, I'm not campaigning with Stacey Abrams. And I said, oh, so you're just here in Georgia. And you can see that his whole story crumbles in this video that I'm putting out today as well, because he's a liar. David Hogg is a liar.
Wow. So people can see that by going to your YouTube channel later today. People should subscribe to Laura Loomer on YouTube. You should have asked David Hogg, hey, shouldn't you be in school right now? What the hell is he doing?
I said, hey, how's your book tour going? Are you enjoying making more money off of dead victims, even though you yourself weren't a victim and didn't lose anybody? I said, oh, by the way, when are you going to give some of your money that you've made to the Pollock family, who actually lost a family member in Parkland and who you banned from speaking because they're Trump supporters? And of course, he just couldn't answer my question, and you just saw this very serious look of shame that came over his face, and he was silent. He could not answer me or look me in the eyes. So that video will be posted on my YouTube channel today. But it's just very despicable what the Democrats are doing in this country. And of course, speaking of Andrew Pollock, another video I put on my channel yesterday, I interviewed him, and he has a message for Jewish voters. He's telling all Jews in America to not vote for Democrats. So he would know, right? He lost his daughter in Parkland. They're Jewish. And he was wearing a Trump shirt when he pulled up to the school to look for her, you know, because she was missing, because she had been shot dead in the school, and they had no idea. And people attacked him on social media and said his daughter deserved to die because he was a Trump supporter.
Wow. That's crazy.
So those are all new videos on my channel. Videos that I can't put out on Twitter because, of course, I've been suspended till the day after Election Day, which, you know, isn't much of a coincidence, given that I'm exposing Democrats.
Laura, I really hope we can turn this around. It's all very troubling information that you're sharing with us, but I so appreciate you for coming on the show, and you are displaying just unbelievable bravery, standing up to these powerful adversaries and informing people of what's going on. This is not stuff that we're going to hear on Rachel Maddow or Anderson Cooper or frankly even Fox or anything like that. This corporate-owned, advertiser-driven media is part of the problem. We need people to be supporting the independent journalists who are really getting to the bottom of this stuff. People need to go to LauraLoomer.us and get onto Laura's website there and get the information from Laura in any way that she can get it out, because we're really losing hold of this country. It's incredibly shocking. I could have never anticipated this 20 years ago.
Right, and if you do enjoy my journalism, you can support it. You can go to my website, LauraLoomer.us, and support my work by donating directly to my PayPal, paypal.me/Laura Loomer. I'm also on Patreon, patreon.com/Laura Loomer. And you can also purchase merchandise. I have different merch, which goes towards funding my videos as well. So I use the money that I make from the merchandise sales to, you know, further support more of the videos that I make. And so, however you want to support my journalism, but
absolutely. And Laura, you've got my support. You are absolutely a legend. You are out there doing the work that nobody else has the guts or the tenacity to do. You are singular in your courage and bravery, and I really appreciate you bringing all this information forward.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we'll talk again soon, Laura. Have a great day and happy Saturday and a good weekend, and keep yourself safe.
I will. Have happy voting, you guys. Remember, vote Republican.
Absolutely. And that's Laura Loomer, everybody. Laura, thanks so much for joining me. Everybody, thanks for watching. Make sure you go over to patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth while that remains up. No threat of it coming down as far as I know, but the last time we mentioned David Hogg on YouTube, the channel got a strike. So please go to patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and become a sponsor. You're going to get access to a lot of exclusive live streams, shows with Kevin Shipp, David Hawkins, Ole Damagard, Michael Moore, and so many other fantastic programs on there. I want to thank everybody who's sponsoring the show, and I'll see everybody soon.